These are Y-traps that I have been using now for 5 years for processing my waste oil. And they're not the only component in my waste oil blending and filtering system, but they are an important component of it. And Y-traps come in basically two different styles from Banjo. They're made out of polypropylene so that the material doesn't melt regardless of what kind of solvent I'm using in the system. I can use polar solvents or alcohols or turpentine, petroleum distillates, no problem for these Y-traps. All the seals are Viton, so again, there's no problem with the seals on the Y-traps. And I also added to the Y-traps polypropylene ball valves so that I can drain the Y-traps. Normally they come with a little plug here, and I remove the plug, put in a nipple, 1-inch nipple in this case, and a 1-inch ball valve, and then something I'm going to attach a hose to this so I can move the hose to a bucket, and then I can open and close my ball valve to allow me to drain the Y-trap. And doing that also allows me to back flush the Y-trap, so I don't actually have to take it apart. All I have to do is run clean gasoline backwards through the Y-trap, and that will clean the screen. How a Y-trap works is it has a screen inside of it, but it also has its mechanical structure is such that that if you have a laminar flow in your fluid stream, then the dense particles are going to be on the bottom of the pipe, and if they're on the bottom of the pipe, then they're going to tend to go down inside the trap. This is the trap. The relatively clean fluid stream is going to go straight through, and there's a screen on the inside of this Y-trap. It just this type unscrews, and once we've unscrewed it, we've exposed a screen. This screen happens to be 50 mesh, which has stood me well for the last 5 years as the first screen, mainly because when I'm blending, I allow a settling period for most of the particulate to precipitate out. And then I drain that particulate and water out of the bottom of my settling tank way before the Y-traps see the fluid stream. So the Y-traps are not dealing with a lot of dirt. Also, as you notice, the Y-trap is easily disassembled and the screen is easily cleaned. I use an ultrasonic cleaner and some lacquer thinner and a brush, and scrubbed out the stainless steel screen in both of my Y-traps. And one of the other additions that I made to my Y-traps is that I installed quick cam connectors. These happen to be 1-inch quick cam connectors, and these are 2-inch Y-traps. And the advantage of the 1-inch quick cam fittings is that I can just unplug and plug these things from my system with just the movement of these levers. I pop them open and the things come right off within less than a minute. And so this is the other style 2-inch Y-trap. It's a little more expensive. 2 reasons why I bought this one is that it came with an 80 mesh screen in it, so I thought, okay, I'll be working on removing smaller particles. And it also has these cam levers to remove, to open up the Y-trap to expose its screen for cleaning. And I thought that was awfully convenient. The disadvantage of this style Y-trap is that it's a little bulkier than the other one. They're both 2-inch Y-traps. This one happens to be a little sleeker, and it so happens that I have a space problem with my mobile processing system. So the smaller design I think is going to work out better for me. The other thing is I put a nipple out of, or the end, sorry, on the Y-trap with the 80 mesh screen so that I can screw it directly into the 2-inch Y-trap with the 50 mesh screen. So these things don't take up much room. They're about a foot in length, and this is a major feature of my processing system. It's just these two Y-traps. They don't take a lot of room, and then from here it goes right to my Pentec bag filter. These two tube-shaped screens are Y-trap screens that I just pulled out of my 2-inch Y-traps. And when I inspected the screens after using them for 3 years, they were completely black and coated with a fine black granular substance, which I believe was free carbon, or otherwise known as soot, that comes from processing waste motor oil into diesel fuel. And this red one is a 50 mesh screen, and this stainless steel one is a 80 mesh screen. And I've had them for about 5 years, and I generally back flush them every time I use them. And when I'm processing waste vegetable oil, these screens back flush fine, and not much is left behind. So even after 3 years of using them, I cleaned them 2 years ago, and there wasn't much on the screens. But this time around, they're totally caked in black carbon. And I scrubbed them, soaked them overnight in petroleum distillates, and scrubbed them 3 times today using different gasoline and waste motor oil blend combinations, which are basically my fuel, to clean these and scrubbing, and it still did not clean them up. So then I put them into the ultrasonic cleaner, and for a half hour with acetone, and you'll be able to see some light perhaps through the screen, maybe not. So you can see light through the screen saying that my struggle today has helped, but it's not quite clean enough, and I think what is left behind is probably lacquer. So I'm going to try ultrasonic cleaning these 2 screens in lacquer thinner. This is the second screen. I'm hoping I can see some light through it. Alright, so we can see some light through at the end, and it's still, as you can see, it's not fully cleaned up, but the ultrasonic cleaning with lacquer thinner will probably do it. This screen from a 2-inch Y-trap, I gave it a half hour on both sides of the screen in acetone, lacquer thinner. Acetone and lacquer thinner seem to do about the same, and that's what we see on the left half of this screen. It's still fairly opaque. And then I tried denatured alcohol, which did nothing. And then I switched to turpentine. And after an hour of ultrasound in turpentine, you can see the right half of this screen is almost completely clear, whereas the left half of the screen is still opaque. So it turns out turpentine is the solvent of choice for removing lacquer that is the byproduct of making waste motor oil blended with waste vegetable oil.